Maybe. Oh, now we are live. All right.
Oh,
Here we go. Welcome to the top 10 books of 2025 with friends, uh, Vasha and Chris, my reading companions throughout the year here. And uh, we'll see how much crossover we have with each other as far as this top 10 goes. And of course, this top 10 is purely our own feelings or anything like that. Just the books that we love the best that we've read throughout the year. So I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to get to the honorable mention stuff at the end.
okay.
And I have a couple of categories that I want to ask about when we get to the end of our list here. So hopefully um, we will. Oh, Vash is coming back. All right, Vash will be right back. Oh, there she is. Okay, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, as my screen was all foggy, so I tried joining from a different tab, but we're good.
Right. Two for the price
All
of one.
right. All right. So, um, any caveats, quid pro quos, addendums? You guys?
So the
have?
only thing I'll say, I'll say I read very few books that I didn't like this year. I think we talked about this kind of off camera beforehand. So I read 60 books this year. Okay, I would say I didn't like about 3 or 4 of them. I mean, that's how few you have. So there are going to be basically 50 books here that I'm not going to mention that I really liked. So
That's
we'll
an excellent point. Yeah, because there's a ton of books that I read that I liked a lot, and was like, oh, I can't put that on that one. Yeah, can't put that one on that list. But yeah, I read 59 myself. So
Ooh.
I'm getting up there.
Nice. I want to not add but also say, I think so this was maybe my first year in which I reread a lot of books that I read before. I don't normally reread, let alone this much. So I allowed myself to include rereads in my top 10 because a
Excellent.
lot of them, because they were among my favorites. A lot of them weren't previously favorites and became favorites now. We'll talk about all of that.
Oh,
But
that's
I feel
cool.
like I needed to be on here. So I know you both probably didn't include rereads, so this
I did not.
Anything.
I did not, but I only reread a few things this year.
Okay.
Not much. But that's interesting. That's interesting.
And the other thing I point out is that about 70% of the books that I did read, I read with other people. So they're part of read alongs of some sort or other word. So if people are wondering why we would have some overlap, we read a lot of books together,
Yes.
whether as a 3 or as a 2 or something of that ilk. So
Yeah, and that's why I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this by myself.
Interesting.
All right. Yeah, and I was going to say that I didn't include any rereads on my top 10, but I didn't have that many, so that's fine too. But including them is perfectly valid. There, Vasha.
It's your list.
So yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Let's get into let's see here. I thought I put in things I can pop up on the screen here, but I might be
You have.
missing. I thought I put up numbers.
You did. I'll do it for you. There you go.
Oh, okay. Number 10. There we go. All right. Ladies first. Vasha, what is your number 10 book of the year?
Already starting off with a reread, it's House of Chains by Steven Erikson, which is the 4th book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen. This one is interesting because I think so for those who don't know, we have been reading with a little group on the Patreon forum. We've been rereading the Malazan books, everything by Stephen Erickson and Esselmont, except we haven't got to an Esselmont book yet because we're reading them in publication order. But Memories of Ice was my favorite. If you had asked me before we started the reread which my favorite Malazan book was from the Book of the Fallen, I haven't read any Esselmont, I would have said Memories of Ice. But I think House of Chains really stole my heart this time. Dead House Gates was a close second. So while I still deeply love Memories of Ice, these two books just sort of came out, and like I really loved them on this reread. So House of Chains for me for the number 10 spot.
Yes. It is amazing how rereading Malazan mixed up my whole order of them. Like it really did.
Yeah.
It almost reversed them in a way. It was really strange how that happened.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Chris, number 10.
Number 10. So I have read quite a lot of this genre book, and a lot of them is just very much because they're quick reads, etc. I'm talking about crime, etc. And I would say for most of them, it's about kind of an entertaining story that I can read quite quickly. You know, when you're sort of bogged down in a lot of longer reads as we are, and you feel like you're not achieving anything for maybe about 6 weeks because you're in the middle of these really long books. And so throwing in some crime, etc., can always be propulsive. So the one that I picked is actually Ian Rankin's Hide and Seek. This is the second book of the Rebus, okay? And I read a lot of books by a lot of different authors this year, but I started Rebus because I just tend to like, I don't know if anybody else is like this when they go in the bookstore and they like to pick up book ones in series like all the time. Like it's just, I think it's a sickness that a lot of readers have.
Yes,
you know, yeah. You know, I want to start a new series. I don't want to continue on the series that I've already done. I just want to start a new series. So there's quite a lot of Rebus books, there's 20 odd of them. So I started that one. I read the first one, but I'd actually picked up two at the same time to sort of get over this kind of idea. And book one's quite good. Glasgow detective, Rebus, marriage broke down, drunk. It's a very common trope as we've kind of talked about in crime. But the second one, Hide and Seek, I think sort of starts to build like a bit of a world. I think it's the thing that I thought most of when I was reading it was like it was a bit like Dresden. As you make your way through Dresden, as every sort of book adds a little layer to the mythical world of the fantasy world, even though it's set in Chicago in some ways in that way. This sort of did the same by introducing an element of the homeless within the city, and the fact that he finds a dead body, and it seems to be somewhat linked to ritualistic cult of some sort, and that's the premise of the book. And so you get a kind of level of rough old detective, very procedural kind of like, and then this kind of building world around him of the people that you might have seen from the first book, a couple of characters in the second book, and kind of have that resolved. So to me, it's actually a bit like a fantasy book in some ways because it has that kind of mythology character building. But it really ticked the boxes as the best crime book I read this year.
Awesome. Our friend DK Moon is here, and he said that DCC was his favorite read of 2025. So it jumped right up to number 1 there for him. I think that's Dungeon Crawler Carl, I believe.
Oh, yes, of course,
Yep.
yes.
And
it's in the infinite shelf behind me, Jared. You'll be surprised to hear. I haven't read
I'm
it
not
yet.
surprised at all.
No, you don't.
All right. So my number 10 of the year is Parable of the Talents by Octavia Butler. We read this way back in January, and this was the second book in her Parable series, and very hard-hitting, powerful book. And because like if I was trying to judge something based upon pure writing ability, I'd probably be higher on my list. But this is an enjoyment list, and the sometimes this hurt just because of the subject matter in here at points, and so it got knocked down just a little bit because of that. But fantastic series, fantastic book.
Yeah, it's definitely while in a sort of dystopian sci-fi / fantasy kind of thing, it is especially the second book very much a horror book at points. Like it is
at points, yeah.
It is grim.
Yep, absolutely. All right, number 9, Vasha, what we got?
Reeve the Just by Stephen R. Donaldson. the short story collection. Thank you, Jared. That's the nice thing. So Chris and Jared are really well prepared with their pile of books. I just showed up with my list. But fortunately, because we read so many books together, chances are one of them will be holding up my book for me. Anyway, this was my first introduction to Stephen R. Donaldson. I loved most of the stories in there, made me think deeply about a lot of things. And I'm looking forward to reading a lot more by Donaldson. So needed to go on that list.
Music to my ears.
Have you a favorite story from? And it seems just well prepared for you, and I'm throwing this on you. Is there a favorite story from the Just that you'd like to pick, or would you like to plead the fifth?
I think it might be the first one, actually, just because it made that impression on me that carried through the rest of the book. And I think this was the reason why I loved Memories of Ice from Malazan the first time too. It's usually, I think, at least my first read through a series or a collection like this, it's the book that makes the impression on me that I carry through the rest of the series. I think for Wars of Light and Shadow, it was Curse of the Mistray. Like, I loved the first book, so it was hard for anything to beat, although I loved all of the later books. So I think Grieve the Just did it.
Outstanding.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah. Chris, number 9.
Number 9 is a fantasy book that neither two of you have read. It is Justice of Kings by Richard Swan.
Oh, nice.
So I read this kind of when Varsha very stupidly left me a hole in my reading schedule, and I thought I would pick this up and read something and cheat on the group by doing that. Really, really good. I mean, Justice of Kings basically about this kind of this King Justice, this person who travels around the land, basically handing out the justice of the king, but has kind of a special power that he has a shout that he can force people to do stuff. You know, take over the weak-minded, almost like a Jedi kind of thing. But he had his young apprentice that's basically a scribe at the start, basically watching him and learning about it. And we sort of see most of the story through their eyes. And like the twists and turns of things that are going, there's changes happening within the world. It almost feels like one of those books that's on the verge of turning into, like a lot of fantasy books, on the verge of turning into a modern society and leaving the kind of old ways behind. It sort of has that feel to it. And we're starting book 1 of 3 in this. So there's another 2 books to go, but I haven't got to them. But it was a really propulsive read. It was really interesting read, and it felt very fresh. And it is the first book by Will Swan, so there's plenty more to get to. But I enjoyed that quite a bit.
Cool. We'll see if number 2, the second book's on your list for next year.
Indeed.
All right. Number 9 for me was this book right here, Clara and the Sun.
Oh, yes.
Kazuo Ishiguro. I adored this book. I adored the characters. I had never thought I would love an AI character, a robot, as much as I did in any novel as I did in this one. I found that Ishiguro his ability to pull that off, for you to make you care so much about an artificial intelligent robot, was fascinating, and not to mention just a great character work all throughout the whole novel, and that. It's kind of literary, but it's definitely sci-fi, and I had a great time reading this book and then talking about it on the Speculation podcast, and fantastic novel, my first Ishiguro. So I look forward to more in the future.
Yeah, author discoveries, fun.
Yeah. Alrighty, Varsha, number 8. Why can't I find these numbers? I don't know.
I got you.
I'm the one who put them in there, and I can't find them. Anyways, Chris got me. All right. Number 8, Varsha. What do you got?
Number 8 is Station 11 by Emily John Mandel. Yeah.
Cool.
It is, I think, the best kind of post-apocalyptic fiction. It's very uplifting with what it does. I mean, the world is in what's the word I'm looking for? It's a terrible place to live after a plague
Really
has hit. But, well, yes, now too. But in the book, after it has hit, but then these group of people find something to do together that brings joy and is uplifting. There are bad things that happen throughout the book, but that note of positivity and optimism that stays through it, I loved it. It is so different from, I think, a little bit like Earth Abides, where once again, like, we're not focusing on the bad things that happen. We're trying to rebuild and just start life together again. And I've been sort of reading my way through Mandel's work. I normally do authors in publication order when I make up my mind to read everything that they've written. With Mandel, I started with Sea of Tranquility, so I'm reading them in reverse publication order. It just makes sense. So I read Sea of Tranquility last year. If we had done one of these, that would have been on that list.
Oh,
And
nice.
Great book. Yeah.
Station 11 is this year's Mandel.
Did you see the movie?
I started it. I
TV
haven't
series, wasn't
finished
it?
it.
Well,
Yeah, it was a series.
TV
yeah,
series.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it was. Yeah.
I got distracted by some comedy, so but I do plan to go back and finish the series. Yeah.
I did like the series, so maybe I'll.
Oh,
pick it up.
I love the book, and to be honest, I think you should start Mandel with those later two books, because I think they hold like a bit of a luster over the rest of her work, because that's when she really hit
Hmm,
success, I think, at that stage. And
yeah.
like any book that interweaves a post-apocalyptic future with a traveling Shakespeare company, it's on to a winner before it even starts, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. All right, Chris, what's your number 8?
Oh, my number 8. So another one I cheated on you with. I did a read of this with Lady Jane Books. This is Gaston Leroux's Phantom of the Opera,
Oh,
which I have to admit I was not very excited about going to read, but I think within about 2 or 3 pages, or 2 or 3 chapters, should I say, I'd started note taking quite a lot about it, because there are an awful lot of like thematic stuff, a lot of the things that you will know that I really like about deep themes that kind of run throughout the book.
Yeah.
And we've just finished the Chrysalid, and it kind of uses this idea of seeing the world through, or this horror through child's eyes, actually quite a lot through the book, which
Oh, really?
adds a real layer, I think, to it, especially at the start of the book. You know, that kind of discovery of this weird and haunted and wonderful in the opera house, of what the kids think of it, and kind of how they're scared and stuff. And I think that really sets the tone of it being this story about true life, but it has a mystical element to it, and I think that sort of carried its way through it. And it's really, again, a deep examination of flawed human beings, both ghosts and real people, and all of that kind of stuff, and actually who's the real monster, all of that kind of stuff that's within books. These are themes that come up quite a lot in our books, I suppose, in speculative fiction. So yeah, I love that. I love the conversation with Jane that we did about that as well.
awesome. Yeah, I've seen the play, the opera. I've seen the opera at the Opera House, but that doesn't have the perspective that you were saying like the book does. Yeah.
It's very interesting book and reading, and I loved writing about it. The more I wrote about it, the more that I kind of was able to call back to myself. That kind of, I know you're a note taker as well, Jared. When you go through, it only happens with some books with me. You sort of feel compelled to, but yeah, it can sort of enrich the reading experience quite a lot in that way.
Nice. All right. My number 8 is a book that both of you are working on right now.
Ah,
Song for Our Bone by Guy Gabriel
it's
Kay.
beside me.
Nice. Okay.
Oh, you got it there. Nice. Yeah. This is my second GGK book I've ever read, and I think I really liked Tagana, but I think what he did here was he just got better. He got better at telling the story, and it has a similar feel to Tagana, except without all the magic. And it I really got more into his prose this time. I got more into it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed reading it. I enjoyed the story. I think he did an awesome job of just wrapping up all the little threads he introduces in the beginning that you don't. In the beginning, you don't know why that happened, or where it's all going. By the time you get to the end, it all comes back in one way or another. And even things you thought that were kind of throwaway, he wraps up. And I was just like, oh, that was really well done. So I enjoyed A Song for Our Bone quite a bit.
Yeah, we obviously will have a discussion coming up about that. So, but I'll say it's been the book over the past kind of 3 or 4 days. After initially struggling with it, a bit like it did in the middle of Dragana, kind of a lot of characters and that kind of stuff to kind of be the point where I cannot put this down at the moment. That's why it's sitting beside me. It's not because it's making the list. It's literally because I had 15 minutes before we started recording here, and I was reading 15 minutes worth of it just to keep on going. Keep, really,
Yeah, pretty good.
beautiful writing. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So before we get to number 7, let's say hello to Chibi Po,
Yay!
Hey.
our Wars Enlightened Shadow friend. Yes.
Missing Chibi.
So number 7, Vasha, what do you got?
Wide Sargasso Sea, and give me a moment while I panic look up the name of
Jean
the author.
Rhys.
Jean Rhys. Yes, thank you.
It's on the shelf behind me, Varsha.
Okay, good.
The Infinite Bookshelf. What isn't
The
on the
Infinite-
shelf?
Now,
What
to be
is-
fair, this is only about 100 pages long. It's not
Yeah.
very long at all.
It's a pretty short book. So I think we read Jane Eyre earlier
did.
this year for the literary fiction side hustle, and White Sargasso Sea is a bit of a retelling of Jane Eyre from the point of view of the wife in the attic. It's not entirely a retelling because it's her life before she became that woman in the attic, and so I really enjoyed reading Jane Eyre, but what bothered me a little bit, or quite a lot actually, is the description of the mad woman who, I mean, we just had to take at face value that she was as terrible as Rochester told us she was, whereas it seemed like maybe perfectly normal things that he maybe misunderstood and locked her up for no reason. Maybe. That is one way of looking at it. At least that's how White Sargasso Sea puts it. And I read a few retellings of classics this year. Julia from 1984 comes to mind. I did not
Oh, yeah.
like those because often, or not even just this year, sometimes whenever I read them, they change the story, they change the characters to the point where it's like you're just telling your own story that you want to, you're not staying within the framework of what you're retelling. This one very much does. And it does it without making Rochester into an evil, terrible person who just did wrong by this poor woman. He gets a perspective. His perspective is also like you could relate to it and see why he did what he did. And it makes sense. And it's also really beautifully written. The story is very compelling and you can fall in love with the characters and like really sympathize with them despite having read that first story and getting that really terrible perspective on this person. So I thought it was a really well done retelling. It made an impression on me. And so, yeah, number 7, White Sargasso Sea.
Excellent. All right. So let's move on to Chris's number 7.
So my number 7 is probably making an appearance again on the list, I would imagine. But it is Alan Moore's The Great Wind.
The Great
It was
Wind.
something that I read along with Jared, and it wasn't even that well planned, Jared. If I might say, you'd sort of said that you picked it up, and I was in the bookstore about 2 weeks later after you said you picked it up, and I was kind of like itching for a new read. Happened to be a nice hardcover version there, and I thought I'll pick this up again. Varsha must have been taking a couple of weeks off, giving us a little bit of a break. And I said, look, I'm reading this. Will we do a bit of a discussion on it? And it was a book that kind of started a bit funny because I wasn't totally in at the start. There was an awful lot of world building. We sort of follow this kind of character that's almost, I mean, it's not Victorian London, but it certainly gives off the feeling of Victorian London, post-war London in a lot of ways. It's I think we talked about that at the time, is that I've sort of felt a bit of what it was. But as every page and every chapter passed, the character work is just off the scales, brilliant. Yeah, there's such a drive to keep on reading about this knucklehead character, quite literally, that you want him to win. He just seems like a good person, or Dennis, and he has an innocence about him, and yeah, and as he meets people and he kind of judges people at the start, you can't help but see the world through his eyes. Again, a running theme through probably some of these 10 books, and by the end of the book, I was just sort of bereft of like needing more and wanting more of this story, and thankfully there's another book coming out this year, and there's another couple of books coming out after that as well. And it really kind of caught me by surprise because I thought it was going to be a filler read, and by the time I was finished with it, I was just like, I love this world, love the fantastical elements of it, and I love the character work and the relationships that are within them. I want to spend more time in this world, which is cool. So
the thing that stuck out with me was it stuck with me all this time. I literally still think about it. I can't stop thinking about this place that Moore invented. So it's really good. All right. We're on 7, right? Yeah, 7. All right, cool. My number 7 for the year is The Cave by Saramago. Jose Saramago? Yeah.
Jose, yeah.
Yeah. And his first name's not on this cover.
Jose. Yeah.
But I this is also part of our literary side hustle that we do. And this book made the top 10 mostly because of Found, the dog. What a great character Found was. I love that dog. But it's a great story. What I loved about it was all that hints of mythology and hints of fantasy that just skirt the edges of the narrative, and I really enjoyed that a lot. His character work was outstanding. I loved all the characters in it. It's kind of strange. It's one of those books where you relate to all the characters. You don't really dislike one over the other or something like that. They all have their journey, their inner journey, their outer journey, and Found, the dog, is the best.
Love Found. we might be talking about The Cave again.
We might be.
List.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to number 6. I found the banners, but
you found that. I was going to say that was not me this time.
Found it. Number 6 is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen.
Oh, nice.
This was a third reread, or like second reread, third time read for me. And I have to say, I didn't love this book as much as I did this time, the first 2 times. But for some reason, I just got so deeply attached to the characters. And there's just something about Austen's writing that keeps me wanting to come back. I'm trying. I've got a few reading classics projects going on, like with some authors that whose abridged works I read when I was younger that I want to read unabridged works by. Charles Dickens is on there, but often, and they're great. I always enjoy my read through of classics, but sometimes it feels like a bit of a chore to go back to whatever classic book I'm reading at the moment compared to, say, all the fantasy and sci-fi we're reading. But with Austen's work, I'm reading Mansfield Park right now, for instance, because I want to read everything she's written, again in publication order. And I just want to keep going back to the book. If given a choice, I'd pick that to read over and over again. And that's what happened with Pride and Prejudice. I wasn't expecting that I would enjoy it this much. But yeah, I think Elizabeth Bennet really made an impression on me this time. And
nice.
So yeah, number 6 is Pride and Prejudice.
Life goals, eh?
Mm-hmm.
The Bennet sister. You want to be a Bennet sister?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I love Pride and Prejudice. I read it in a college course for comparing film to literature. So we watched the BBC series alongside reading that, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. I really liked that novel a lot, and it surprised me that I liked it as much as I did.
Yeah. So a fun exercise with Austen, if you don't mind spoilers, is reading the Wikipedia plot summary and then reading the book, because I read the plot summary of Mansfield Park and it made the book sound ridiculous. All the things that happened.
Mhm.
But how the things actually play out in the book, it makes sense. It's fine. There is build up. The way the plot summary is written, it's like, how did we go from the beginning of the book to what you're saying happens at the end? How is that even possible? But the build up and I think in a strange way, it makes me really admire her craft. So
Mhm.
anyway, that
sure.
yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Chris, number 6.
Number 6. So number 6 for me is one that you've already discussed. Clara and the Sun by
Yay!
Kazuo Ishiguro. My second Ishiguro. Like you mentioned, absolutely loved it. I think at the outset, when you kind of have a book that is about an AI companion that you think is very current, you think you know what way it will make you feel or the kind of themes that are going to be talked about, but the character of Clara contrasted with this very young, sick girl. It just adds so much to that story. And again, that childlike innocence, not just of the child, but of Clara herself, as she tries to see the world and make sense of the world through her kind of non-experienced eyes. It just sort of caught me unawares about how it would make me feel about Clara and the world around her, and judging the adults and the people that are around them in much the same way as we judge the adults and chrysalids and those kind of things, like the very common themes that sort of run across a lot of our books this year. But yeah, Clara and the Sun was just a joy from page 1 to the time it closed, and satisfying ending. I didn't leave unfulfilled about it at all, which is often a very hard thing to do from page 1 to the end. Yeah,
Sure. Yeah. Awesome. And my number 6 of the year was A Pack of Wolves by our friend P.L. Stewart. This is the 5th book in the Drowned Kingdom saga, and it is one of the best epic fantasies going right now. It is his writing gets better and better and better with every book, and he pulls out all the stops. He continues to surprise me with his narrative choices and where he's going with the story, and it's just it's really amazing how he's pulling it off with this originally very unlikable character. So I can't wait for the next book. I'm really looking forward to it. And PL, if you see this, please keep it up and get me that next book, because I can't wait.
man's a machine, and with how regularly he's turning them out, and especially the quality. Yes, so
yeah, quality and quantity is coming our way with this series, and I can't wait for book 6. Like I said, they keep getting better and better, and his craft keeps getting better and better. You can tell he's getting better and better as a writer, and he was already good to start with. So really good stuff. And that's my number 6 of the year. So all right, and we have we got number 5. Oh, we're in the top 5
we're heading into the top 5. Okay.
Yeah, so
no pressure.
No pressure at all. Here we go.
Okay, number 5 for me is another reread, 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So this was the only thing I read in my attempt last year to try and keep up with the hardcore literature book club. But
that was January's book, I think. Wasn't it? I think it was,
I only took until July to finish it. But I had read this in college, and I loved it quite a bit then too. But once again, it made a much deeper impression on me, this reread. It's about this little town called Macondo that is hard to find and gets a lot of outsiders at various times, and they make impressions on our people who live there. And I think it's set over the course of 100 years. A lot of strange things happen. This book could be the definition of magical realism. So many weird things happen, and I think if and I really wished I knew the history of Latin America while I was reading it, because it felt, I think it we saw this a little bit with Midnight's Children. All the references he made were in some historical context, or it felt like they could be. I
Yeah.
I don't know, but it felt like they could be. It was fun to speculate, and I think the themes that came up, I'm much older now, and I appreciate them a lot more and relate to so many other things that we've read. And I think this was an interesting book. I read this alongside Midnight Tides. I read this around the same time we were sorry, not Midnight Tides, Midnight's Children. I have to stop doing that. Midnight's Children around the same time, and they were interesting books within each other's
Yeah,
context
right.
as well. So
Nice.
Yeah.
So we got a friend DK Moon. He disliked the character in Drowned Kingdom. He
Often,
didn't read
yeah.
any more. Totally understandable. I get it. That's that can definitely be a thing that hinders the getting past the first book. But you know, I think you should read on and try it out. I think
Yeah.
things change. Yeah, but
He's a privileged young man in the first
Yeah.
book, I think it's fair to say, and he's got to get out of the way of himself, I think,
he
in a
absolutely
lot of ways.
and
you know,
yeah,
so.
he's he can be a pain. But and we got our friend Joe Byrne. How you
Oh,
doing, Joe? And yeah, he agrees. You're supposed to like them. You're supposed to dislike him. Yep. And you're absolutely right, Joe. And if anybody hasn't read Joe's Willful Ascending book,
Wistful Ascending.
Wistful Ascending, Wistful Ascending, yes. And check that out because that's a fun
Jeez.
superheroes punching spaceships book and
Space Bears.
Space Bears, which are awesome. And a really great book to read. Really fun. And yeah, DK says it worked too well. All right. So that was your number 5. Vaja, Chris, your number 6. What we got?
My number 5, even.
Number five. Yeah.
God damn it. So we read 2 duologies this year. You've talked about one. I'm going to talk about the other one. Desolation Called Pieces, book 2 of the Tex Clanley cycle, or I believe that's what it's called anyway. Followed on from A Memory Called Empire by Arcady Martin, who is only a part-time writer, which kind of blows my mind. This duology was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Character work, interesting world that they sort of built in this sort of special envoy aspect. They have a murder that we walk into. Desolation Called Peace kind of arose.
Wait, Chris. I'm
Yes.
gonna pause you because we're just gonna do a dual number 5.
Oh, nice.
So
Bravo. Not
Yeah.
planned at all.
Carry on.
Yeah, well, Mahit Desmarais is the character that we follow is the envoy to this world, and there's events in the first book that happen at the end of it that are kind of a bit like blow your mind kind of thing, and we pick up from that in the second book. And I think we talked about this at the time, but I find it interesting how in the duologies that we've written, I think we all sort of prefer a little the second book because of what it did, whereas often, you know, in trilogies, you don't get that necessarily the same effect. It was very much written as a duology in mind, it seems like to me, although there's definitely scope for more books within this world. I just found the whole political building that it made, the kind of characters, and especially in Desolation Called Empire, or Desolation Called Peace, sorry. The way that they interwove the stories between all of the characters, they all seem to be going in different kind of ways and different places and different outcomes, but it all sort of comes together in the end. And I just found it so enjoyable to read, and just a brilliant book. What about yourself, Jared?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant book. I was so surprised at how much I liked this book better than the first book that I actually loved as well. And I think Martin's character work is wonderful. Very, it's weird because the characters themselves are so alien because they come from this society we really can't understand. It's not like anything that we that we can relate to today. And she describes a society through the characters so perfectly that you can then relate to the characters and how they're living there. And I really like I love the space opera feel of it. And it's so that gave it a sense of epicness and this fantastical aspect to it that I really enjoyed. And so it was great book. Great, a lot of deep themes too. A lot of deep themes running through it. especially about identity and stuff like that. So it was really really well done.
Yeah, love that.
Yep. All right, and Fasha, are you ready for this? Number 4.
Yes. Love a joint number 5. This one, unfortunately, is probably not going to have a joint anywhere because it wasn't in any of the group reads we did. It's Foster by Claire Keegan.
Mm.
And I read this all the way at the beginning of the year, and I loved it. It made such a deep impression on me. It's a really short book. It's
Yeah.
128 pages long, and even that is like this little square of a thing with largish font. But for how short it is, how much I loved it. It was a fantastic book about a kid who has been sent away to live with I guess foster parents because her parents can't afford to keep her, and then she grows on the family. They grow to love her, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful book. And yeah, it was beautifully written, and yeah, it made me want to read everything by Claire Keegan, which I haven't gotten around to yet, but maybe we'll have another book by her next year's list.
Yeah. She is brilliant.
Yeah.
That
Excellent.
is such a powerful book, and if you haven't, and I don't think you have seen the film adaptation of it, The Quiet Girl, it's absolutely
Okay, I'll check it out.
it's I mean, everything that you love about that book they do really really nicely in the adaptation as well. And the final scenes are just, oh my god, just
Okay,
so good.
okay, nice.
Nice. All right, Chris, number 4.
Number 4, on the subject of short books. Yeah, this one I didn't read along. This was a pick by my good friend below me there, Varsha. This was part of our MYRB class
Ooh,
review.
yes.
This is The Singularity
Nice.
by Dino Buzzati, which, I mean, not that we've sort of set out to kind of pick speculative books, but this is very much a speculative book. About the book basically starts with a man and his wife traveling. They've been told to take a job where they're going to look after some unknown artifact or research some unknown artifact. And I think that is where the book really sells itself at the start, is because we don't know as the reader what the hell is behind or what they're going to research. And actually, for most of the book, we don't know. And it has this kind of feeling of, as we meet more people, as we kind of get further in, deeper into the well, so to speak, we find out a bit more about what the book is. And then it transforms into this what's the nature of humanity? What's the nature of being? All of that kind of stuff. And such a short book, like that's barely anything to it. But it gives a really enriching read, and just one that kept you asking questions. It was one of those ones that you're reading, but as you're reading it, it's just generating more questions in your head that you want the answers to, and it's reading on to try and get the answer to that question. And by and large, it answered most of them, and it was a very enjoyable read along. Yeah.
Nice. All right, my number 4 is one we've had already. The Great Wind by Alan Moore.
Yeah.
4, right? Yeah, 4. And yeah, I really love how much, like, I don't think I've read a book where the setting is a bigger character than this book. It is a spectacular setting. I feel like I could read this book and go and walk around in this London and find my way without losing my way, unless I happen to go through one of those places that sent me to the Great Wind, which if anybody has read Alan Moore's prose before, you know it can get mighty weird. And it was fun. It was so much fun to read those parts, and so much fun to carry along with Dennis, our main character, and just find out so many cool things about this world that Alan Moore has invented. And like you said, Chris, looking forward to the next one. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
It was great.
All right. Moving on to number 3.
Top three, baby.
3. Oh my god. Clara and the Sun.
Yeah.
By Caswell.
We all had it. Nice.
Yes,
Yeah, we all had it in there. Yep.
Yes, thank you, Jared. This is, both of you said everything I could say about this. Not much to add, other than, once again, I think I loved following the world through Clara's perspective, and I think it made me cry in many places. For a book about um, robots and artificial intelligence, it also touched quite a lot on the subject of how we raise children as a society, and
Mhm.
I think it made some really deep points about it, and it was wonderful. It was fantastically written, and yeah, lots more Ishiguro will be read.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
I'm making a lot of promises on this live stream. Better stop.
Never
No,
stop, Sasha. Never
yeah.
stop.
Well, we know when you make those sort of promises, that's promising
Yeah.
for all of us. As
You're
as-
making the right. Yes. So DK Moon, you've only read his graphic novels, comic stuff. It's great stuff. I agree with you 100% there. But do check out his prose. It's really cool, and Joe said he's very excited. I think he was referring to The Great Win as well.
Mm.
So moving on to Chris's number 4. What do you
My
got?
number 3.
Oh, 3.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 3.
Right, yeah. So I mean, there's a slip of paper between my top 3. I would say these top 3 are quite a distance away from. As much as I've loved all those books beforehand, these top 3 are quite a distance away from them, and they are the 3 books that made me emote the hardest throughout the year. So my number 3, the first appearance on any of our lists of Storm Fortress by Johnny Works from the Wars, Light and Shadow.
All right. We got to do a dual number 3
There we
as
go,
well.
I
We're on the
love
same page.
so much of this series, like the reading
Yeah.
experience with these guys and with Chibi as well. Definitely helped them with Johnny herself. But as we got to the end of this arc, so to speak, like everything just comes home to roost, and it's just one of those things. The things that we set up for books upon books upon books kind of come together, and just I remember reading the last 100 pages and basically punching the air the whole, like every 2 or 3 pages, going, "This is so cool! Oh my god, this is amazing! What's happening here? The implications and the things that were happening, and the excitement, and a lot of it, it wasn't predictable at all. It was just kind of things that were playing out, and when they played out with it not being predictable, they made total sense with the world that were kind of being put together. And while you sort of could have picked many books, for me, Storm Fortress is the highlight of the whole series because of the length of the arc that we had in the 5 books there, and the kind of wrapping of that up at that time, and all the things that happened and the implications that it had, and it was just wonderful.
Yeah. It was. This is like peak fantasy in the fantasy world right here, and I loved how she brought all these storylines together at the end of this one. I loved just the finally getting that big punch from all the big players that we've been reading about a little bit here and there, hints, and boom, it really just all hits you once you get to this end of the story arc. And I was just like, wow, that I would die happy just finishing this one, but we had more, so that was great.
That's great.
Yeah, this was number 3 of the year. Probably my favorite Wars of Light and Shadow book out of all of them, and I just gave away a video idea I had. Anyways,
Very good.
So, all right. With all that said, let's move on. And Chris, like you said, it was like the top 3 are really, really good, really close together. But let's get on to number 2. Number 2.
Number 2, The Cave by Jose Saramago.
The Cave.
Double.
I thought so. So this was my pick for our literary fiction side hustle bracket thing that we've got going on. And yet I didn't expect to like it very much, because if you read the blurb on the back, it sounds like a very clinical, technical kind of story that maybe I'd appreciate but not love. And maybe for that reason, this book made such a big impact on me because of how lovable all the characters were. Jared already mentioned that dog named Found. I loved Potter and his daughter and the son-in-law, how their relationships grow and develop over the course of the book. And the themes that we're dealing with, of course, those were really well done. And it's also an interesting experiment of like the theme being laid out for you to think about, and then you see how the plot connects to said theme. So take it away, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, you both spoke about this very well. The one thing that I'll add is that I was dreading reading this book, especially when I picked it up at the time, because it is a book without punctuation. It is a book with that everything runs together. There aren't really paragraphs in it, and I just thought 200 and odd pages of this is going to be torturous. How am I going to follow this? And it was amazing. After about 50 pages, I didn't need punctuation. It didn't tell you who was speaking at any stage, but you knew who was speaking. And I think that's one of the things that elevates it a little bit in the list for me, is the fact that it just does those things that kind of go against what I thought I would enjoy in books and that kind of stuff. I like, that's such a skill to be able to write a book without punctuation. But talking to people who are speaking, that helps that there are only really 4 characters in this book, so that does help. But like I say, that bit with Found, when Found comes running down the path at the end of the book, honestly, like my heart almost burst at the end of that. And I don't like animals. I don't like animal companions in books, and yet this book subverted all of that in a lot of ways. So yeah, The Cave. I actually went to my bookstore afterwards, and I picked up another Saramago book. And she said, "Oh, have you read anything by him?" And I says, "Yeah, I've just finished The Cave, and it's honestly one of the best books I've ever read in my entire life, just for what it's done." And that bookseller just went ahead and picked up a copy of The Cave themselves. And you know that feeling where you're like, "But I didn't mean you to spend money. Maybe you'd hate it." You know that pressure that you instantly feel when you've recommended a book to somebody, especially one that's so weird and that has the issues of punctuation and stuff. Somebody might bounce off very hard at that. But yeah, I have to check in to see how that read went along.
I think Joe's messing with us here, but that's okay. It's funny stuff. So that was that your number 2 as well?
That was my number 2 as well. Yep,
oh, okay, all right. We had another dual number 2. All right, all right. That leaves me with a number 2, and it should be no surprise to you guys. But my number 2 is Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie. I thought that this book was just a masterwork of writing in the magical realism sphere, I guess. I call it fantasy, but I just love the tie-in of the main character. I don't remember his name, but his journey. Salim
Sinai.
Yes, that's it. I love how he tied it into the history of India, and because I've read these histories, and so I was trying to follow along with what he was talking about, and it was during the time of India's independence, and then later on the split of Pakistan from India, and how that all related to Salim's life and his journey through life, and it mirrored it perfectly, and how the magical realism that was thrown in was these telepathic powers that he had with some of these other kids who were also born on the eve of India's independence, which by the time you'd done the book, you're not even sure if it was real or not, but it was but you want it to be, because it was just so well told. His Rushdie's language, his prose is out of this world. His metaphors are deep and meaningful and on just about every sentence, and you could spend a lifetime underlining everything in here and looking for meaning in every sentence. And it's very deep, and it's very I thought it was very powerful, and I enjoyed the heck out of reading that And I took my time with it too. It wasn't like I sped through it or anything like that, because you can't speed through that book. This
No,
book,
I don't think so.
you gotta take your time and then let it soak in and read it. Much like much like Jenny, where it's much like a Donaldson and Erickson and stuff like that. So you got to take your time.
It has a good amount of humor as well burst through it. I mean, there
Yes.
is definitely, I think that is needed within the story, that it's very kind of big political ramifications and that kind of stuff, but also, the fact that him hiding in the basket and the nose and all of those things, the magical elements to it all sort of add to the wondrous nature of that book.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There is plenty of humor in there as well. Yep. It offsets some of because there are some horrid things that happen too as well. So, yeah, it definitely needed. It's needed. I think he struck just a perfect balance.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, we are down to number 1. Fasha, what are you gonna give us?
What's it gonna be? We started with the reread. We'll finish with the reread. Number
I know what
1
that is.
is The Book Thief by. Damn it! I need to look up the author.
Marcus. What's his surname?
Zuzak.
Zuzak is what I think. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm saying it wrong, but yes, The Book Thief. I read it in college and I reread it again this year with our friend Josh from the forum. And once again, it was a book that I vaguely remembered liking. And it made me cry so much in the end. And it hit all the spots that Foster did, with the added interesting caveat that the story is narrated from the point of view of death, and that added a whole element of I guess observation of humanity and some philosophizing. But mostly we just read about this girl who just keeps stealing everybody's heart by doing the kindest, sweetest things during a terrible, terrible time. And yeah, I love this book. I will probably reread it many more times in the years to come. But this is my number 1 for this year.
Excellent.
Yay! Excellent. Cheers to that. As I continue with my liquid courage.
I'm on the water.
Liquid
very unlikely.
All right, Chris, bring it on. What's your number 1 of the year?
My number 1 will be of no surprise to the both of you. In fact, it's the first book that I finished this year. And but like you said earlier on, that books stay with you, and you're surprised how much they stay with you. And mine is Parable of the Talents by Octavia E. Butler.
Nice.
I can't talk about this without talking about its depiction of the theme of slavery. How it goes about and deals with slavery and the topic of slavery in that book will make you emote. It will make you feel some very dark and troubling things in it. And that, as far as anything I've read this year, that whole sequence of about 100 pages that's within this book is just going to stay with me for the rest of my life, because it was horrific to read. It was really tough to read, but it also made you appreciate and make sense of so much of the rest of the things that were happening in the book itself. It's not just about that, about this idea that she's birthing this religion, or trying to birth this idea of religion, and how that all wraps and makes sense and all that. It's just absolutely masterful narrative writing, and how she even uses things like epigraphs and things like that to enhance it. I'm often somebody that skips over epigraphs at a certain point of reading. I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. Lots of the books that I've mentioned already have lots of them, but this one, how by the time we got to the second book and we were using them, how they often start to make sense in ways that they didn't in the start of the book. I just like, what a magnificent reading experience for that, and again enhanced by the fact that we were able to discuss it together and kind of bounce off each other. It was awesome. That's my number 1.
Yep, indeed, awesome book. And I think it's a I think it's a very necessary book. It's the warnings that she puts out, the cautionary tale, is much needed nowadays.
Yeah.
So good stuff. All right, so it should be no surprise to you guys or to actually anybody in the world what my number one book is, and that would be Stephen Erickson's No Life Forsaken.
Yeah.
This was a book I've been eagerly awaiting for a long time. Started reading it the day I got it and didn't stop until I was done. I really love what Erickson did here with this book. He goes back to Seven Cities. This is the second book in the Tales of the Witness series, second out of 4 as it stands right now, and I just, once again, Erickson draws you in to these characters, to situation in Seven Cities, and then he just explores themes left and right through the characters, through the setting. He really delved into religion in this one and how people approach it, how people use it, how it gets used against other people, how it comforts people, how it and how it can be there even if you're like even if you're neutral toward it, it's still there, you know. And so the main character in here I really identified with, Bonu Blatt, I think his name is, and he was he's a scholar who works for a temple but doesn't have faith in the god that the temple worships. And I thought, wow, that's very interesting for a fantasy world where the gods really are real and they're actually in front of you. But he has this character that takes that tact that, yeah, I'm writing your chronicles, but I have no faith in you at all. And it was refreshing to have that as a viewpoint in a fantasy setting where gods are real. And I really liked how he did that. I really liked how the he always has some sort of convergence at the end of each of these books, but this one was a little bit different than his usual ones, and he really once again he hit his stride as far as, in this book, Erickson used an economy of words that may not be apparent in some of the Book of the Fallen works, where it seems like he uses a lot of words. This one was very quick to read compared to the Book of the Fallen, some of the Book of the Fallen books, but it was also just as deep thematically. And so it's just amazing what he can do when he can do whatever he wants with the written word. Erickson can, and he aptly shows it all the time in different aspects of all of his different writings. And this book was no different in that respect.
Cool.
Yep. And so DK, I would definitely check these books out. That's the Witness trilogy I think you're referring to, and even though Cass is not in them as yet, he is mentioned quite a bit. So I don't think that's a spoiler. I think that's a known thing.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's our top 10s there, folks. I hope if you guys have I hope that's inspired people to read stuff.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised, if you don't mind me saying, with how little overlap we had. And there was definitely a chance that we could have the 10 same books sort of pre-ordered.
Right, yeah.
In some ways, you know.
Well, Vacha had to go and do all her rereads, so
that's true. If it wasn't for those, The Cave was ready to be my top 1 until I read The Book Thief. So yeah.
Nice. Very nice. So one of my honorable mention stuff was, what was your favorite reread? That was going to be my
one of my questions,
and I think Your answer, Vasha, would have been probably your highest reread
Yeah,
on the
The
list,
Book
right?
Thief.
The
The
Book
Book Thief.
Thief.
Yes.
So that's that's good. That's set in stone
Mhm.
there. Chris, what do you think? What was your favorite?
Mine would have been Jane Eyre. Now, I'm not sure whether I reread any other book, but I loved rereading Jane Eyre. Like, to be honest, it was
Yeah, we had fun doing that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked Jane Eyre a lot. Yep. Like we mentioned at the beginning of this stream, we read a ton of books that we love that didn't make our top 10
Yeah.
list. And Jane Eyre is one of mine. I love Jane Eyre, but it,
Yeah.
didn't quite make my top 10. But
Yeah, all the ones you both mentioned that we read together would have been on my list if it wasn't for all these
Yeah.
damn rereads I did.
And that Children, amazing read. Wind Up Bird Chronicle was very good. There was so
Yeah,
many great
very
books that
good.
we read together.
Very
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
books. Yeah. It's funny, Vashi, you mentioned that a lot of these books you reread this year, you reread them from when you were younger,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
that you have a different perspective now. And I
Yeah.
think that's shown through your explanation of how the rereads change for you. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
I
Barsh
gotta
is
say.
still so young. Like, this is ridiculous. Like,
I know. Just wait till she rereads them 20 years from now. It's going to be
exactly
great.
right. You can imagine us old fogies like me and Jared. The theory of relativity is the play here. The older that we get, the further we fly closer to the sun. That's faster time is actually progressing. Anyway.
All right. So you had Jane Eyre as your reread,
Mhm.
favorite reread. Mine was Reeve the Just, which
Oh,
Ooh,
yeah.
Nice.
in Other Tales, which Chris had brought up early, or no, Vasha.
Varsha.
Vasha
Yeah.
brought up
Varsha.
earlier as her number 9. And this was my favorite reread. I'm so glad that I got you guys into reading Donaldson,
Mhm.
because I am having a blast rereading his stuff. And I did want to give a special mention to Watchmen, because I reread
yeah.
this for like the 4th time this year. And if you guys know about Watchmen, you know about Watchmen. It's the greatest graphic novel ever read.
It's incredible.
And like DK says, time of life when reading a book influences a lot, and he's absolutely right there. Absolutely right. So were there any other honorable mentions you guys wanted to bring up? I have some. Mine are kind of on a theme, my honorable mentions, but I didn't know if Vash, you had any honorable mentions you wanted just to throw out there.
Let's see. I think I want to mention. Well, I'll just talk about the books that you guys didn't talk about already, because I have a couple that we read together, like Singularity and A
Mhm.
Memory Called Empire, like that duology,
Mhm.
and Midnight's Children. All of those were in my consideration for this list, but just like I just liked the others more, and that could change over time, perhaps. But I think Cranford, I want to mention, by Elizabeth Gaskell,
Gaskell.
by another author that I'm trying to read my way through all her works. I started in publication order, no surprises there. And Mary Barton was okay, but I didn't like, that was the first book I read, but I didn't like love it or anything. But Cranford, for what it was, it's well, first of all, it's hard to tell what it is about for a while, other than the little town of Cranford. But ultimately, it ended up being about one woman who just, I guess, sort of like the glue of the community to a certain extent. And it was a great book about how people rally around when bad things happen, but while keeping the happy, uplifting tone. And I think it was a completely different book in tone from Mary Barton, because it was also just a lot more witty and funny, which reminded me of Austen a little bit, but quite in a different way. Anyway, it surprised me. Therefore, it's an honorable mention.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome. Chris, any honorable mentions?
So I have 2. One, I didn't have any ASF Masterworks on my list this year. I was just checking
Me
just to be
either,
sure. Yeah, but I will mention Book of Skulls by Robert Silverberg as being
book.
something that stands out to me, mainly because again, it's a surprising book insofar as it's about terrible young men, you know, and in some ways we were sort of talking about Othran earlier on from Drowned Kingdom, and about how that can be sort of difficult to read. This is about four young men who are just all terrible, but it's about basically the hubris of young males, you know, and the kind of lack of care they have for anything else in the world and all the rest of it. But somehow Silverberg makes it sort of compelling about what this quest for eternal life that they're on, and that kind of stuff. And you sort of love to hear it in a lot of ways. So it sort of caught me by surprise, because on one end it started out as like, I desperately don't want to read about these type of people, and then by the end of it, kind of coming, yeah, that's interesting. And the other one is a manga series that I have been reading this year. So this one's called Hiroyasumi. Wrong way around, obviously.
It's called
it's called Hiroyasumi. Now, I have no idea what that translates to as all. It's ongoing still, so it's not too far away. It's very slice of life. It is a very nice escape from the real world. For as sucky as the real world is sometimes, this is the story of a young boy. Well, a boy, he's a young man, really, who is no real parents around him. He just has a sister that he lives with. She started college. He's a bit older. He was a child star as an actor, but he gave it up for reasons that are sort of being uncovered. He has a best friend who's young family. And the book really starts with him helping a young woman home from the shops, and she invites him in, and he calls around for dinner's company, and she leaves him the house when she dies at the start of the book, and he has somewhere to live. And there's a sort of like paying it forward mentality comes through the book the way through. It is just about people getting along. There's really not much to it. There's no real massive drama about it, but a volume comes out every other month, and it is just nice when it drops in through the door to kind of pick it up and go, this is what life could be like. This is how people sort of should treat each other. The things that are big drama within these pages aren't really big drama. It's very classic manga slice of life insofar as you're just following along with people. Nice. And it is a very nice distraction from some of those heavy things that we've been talking about in some of the other books. So Hiroyasumi is there's 7 volumes out at the moment. There's more to come.
Cool. Yeah, so my honorable mentions are, like I said, a theme. They are books that ended a series. And so I wanted to give a shout out, of course, to the end of all endings, the Song of the Mysteries by Jenny Wirtz. And this is Massive Tomb. Is the culmination of just so much 50 years of work that went into this, and it shows in how in the depth of story that she presented to us, and it was finally finished off. And she even gave a little shout out in the beginning to Paige Chewing, and who we where we schedule all our stuff. And so that was so wonderful. And I love finishing series. And so I was so excited and glad. Yeah, the mug. So excited and glad to finish this series, because that's why, it's part of why we read, right? To finish off, to get a great story and have it finished off. So you get that one. I was very happy to finish off Destiny's Doom by Von Roycroft, the third book in the Sundered Nation trilogy that he wrote. These books are very K-like in that the magic is mostly non-existent. And it's very historical, but it's still on a secondary world. And so if you like Kay's writing, I think you'll like these. And he has a really Roman versus Goth feel in this series. Very fun. And I also finished off the third book in the Library trilogy by Mark Lawrence, The Book That Held Her Heart. This one really actually pulled at the heartstrings. Lots of holding back the tears in that one. And it was a very, very good ending to a pretty cool trilogy. I really liked it a lot. And finally, we also had While Darkness Gathers by Mr. Philip Chase, our friend, and that was actually a sequel to his trilogy, but it's also an ending as well. So I included that in my theme as well. So some honorable
Yes.
mentions there. So I don't know if Vasha, I don't know if you have anything for this, but I was wondering what was your best adaptation of
Oh,
a novel. This could be film, TV, comic, anything.
interesting.
I didn't know if you had anything.
Now I'm wishing I'd watched Station 11 so I could say that.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think I have an answer off the top of my head, and it would take too long to scroll through all the books I read to figure
Even
out.
even Pride and Prejudice.
Pride and Prejudice. Did I watch the movie? I watched the movie, but it was okay. Compared to the book, it was nice. It was a good movie, but
Yeah.
I think how much the book made me feel. The movies,
Yeah.
all right.
No, I hear you there. What about you, Chris?
Yeah.
Anything this year that was adapted that you
I
really
had a
thought was
better
done
answer
well?
than this last. I had a better answer than this last week, and I've forgotten what it was. So I'll go for Day of the Jackal, which is a Frederick Forsyth novel I watched this year. There was a take on it done with Eddie Redmayne this year. Really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed that. So yeah, I'll go for Day of the Jackal.
Day of the Jackal. Okay, cool. All right. For me, it was the graphic novel adaptation of A Wizard of Earthsea
Ooh,
by Ursula
nice.
Le Guin. I thought this was just an extremely beautiful package that I think actually enhanced the original work rather than just a straight adaptation. It actually it set a mood that just for some odd reason, which is I think it's ironic that a comic set a mood to make the work feel a bit more adult than its original work. And I found that fascinating because it was such a the artwork was moody and dark and just gave the book a different feel. And I really appreciated what he did with this adaptation. Fred Fordham was his name, and fantastic adaptation of Wizard of Earthsea. If for any Le Guin fans, and one more thing before we wrap all this up, Vaja, who was a favorite new author to you this year?
Oh, I think I have to go with Jose Saramago. But it was just that one book. I'm trying to see if I read more than one book by someone. And maybe Arkady Martin. Yeah, I'll change my answer. I think
Uh-oh. She's
because it's
waffling.
two books that I loved. Like just based on how much I loved one book, it would be Jose Saramago. But if I have to pick an author that I've read at least a couple of books by, Arkady Martin, I think will have to be that author.
Yeah, and Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of had that same impression of Saramago as like I've got to read everything he's ever written now because of his style. So I'll go for John Wyndham, just because he.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
we've just finished reading the Chrysalids that didn't make anybody's list, and to try and pick something from outside the lists. I think that again, economy of effort and writing and words and creating a very believable world within it. I'll go for John Wyndham.
Nice. My answer was Arkady Martin as well. She's new to me this year, and I was blown away by what she did in those two books. And even though Rose House wasn't quite on the level of her space opera, it was still quite enjoyable. And I look forward to if she writes anything else again. I know she's not a full-time writer, but it's when you get a new author that suddenly you say, I'm waiting for what she writes next, then that's pretty good stuff, I think.
I think it's fair to say it was not Neil Stevenson.
Yes. Yes, I think it's fair to say that combined, the worst book of the year was Ream D by Mr. Stevenson. but yeah, we won't focus on the negative. But yeah, we still had fun talking about it, and
Yeah, we did.
so that's a wrap for this live stream. I had fun. I hope you guys had fun, and thank you for the people who were watching and commenting. Thanks for showing up, Joe and Jimmy Poe and DK Moon. Really appreciate that. And yeah, yay, top 10 of 2025. The year's over. Let's let's read some more great books for the 2026. And any parting words? You guys?
It was a great year of reading together. Thank you for
and
reading with
if you like our thoughts and want to hear discussions on many of these books, you can find them on our channels. So if you're coming to this after the fact, we've pretty much done a discussion about, I would say, about good 60% of the books that have been mentioned in this chapter.
70, 80, maybe.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. Good point. And let's see. We'll see how many books Chris and I can squeeze in between Varsha's rigid reading schedule.
You both had too much time. We gotta fix that. All right.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.